Tonight, back to business, but only for a select few.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
The fanfare and the frustration as Ontario's economic comeback starts blooming in time for Mother's Day.
He can't understand why he hasn't seen his family.
And one mom's fight to see her son living in a group home, why she thinks her visit is essential and who's backing her up. And the 100-year-old Mississauga woman who survived COVID and is once again ready to be the life of the party. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Many took advantage today of the first easing of COVID-19 restrictions in Ontario. A select group of seasonal businesses were allowed to reopen. Many operators certainly welcomed the news, but some were concerned they didn't have enough notice and proper safety precautions weren't yet in place. Farah Morelli kicks off our coverage tonight.
At the East End Garden Centre, it wasn't hard to find happy customers today.
I bought some herbs so I can grow my own herbs.
I'm really excited about it.
This is the time, and it's one of the few things we can do easily these days.
We have 6-foot distance. We have arrows going down this way.
Owner Judy Clark says they have the proper protective equipment and measures in place to operate safely.
It's going to be pretty crazy here.
But other newly opened businesses aren't sure they do.
I think it's still too early. First of all, people that are coming in here, they're not, not all of them are wearing masks or gloves. And, as far as I don't know if they have it and they don't know if I have it.
On Friday, the province revealed a list of seasonal businesses allowed to open their doors today, so long as they follow strict safety protocols. But 3 days' notice means some businesses simply can't.
My first initial reaction was obviously I wish we had a little more notice. Being a Friday at 1 o'clock.
The Ontario General Contractors Association says it's excited by the announcement, but it will take a few extra days to bring in safety measures across the board.
So that required us, implementing new procedures, signage, sanitation stations, a whole gamut of, protocols.
There's never a decision that one person makes. I don't make a decision by myself. I always consult with people. We try to give them a few days.
The Premier said today the province did consult with stakeholders before his announcement on Friday, and it's working to make sure businesses have the PPE they need. And while some are scrambling, others, like this golf course, say they've been ready for weeks, even implementing major changes in anticipation of opening.
So the golf ball will never actually drop into the hole and will bounce off instead. So, lots of little things like that to make sure that everybody is safe. We could be up and running probably within 24 hours.
The big question on many people's minds is what's going to be next to reopen here in Ontario. The messaging we heard from the Premier was one that was very positive today. He said we've now surpassed this goal of 16,000 tests performed a day. We're trending in the right direction. Today, the Premier even urged other businesses to get ready, start stocking up on PPE, figuring out arrangements for curbside pickup. He says we could expect an announcement about further openings as early as this week. Farah Morelli, CBC News, Toronto.
So grocery stores never closed during the pandemic, but many in-store restrictions have been in effect for weeks. Well, starting today, a new mask policy is in place at one major supermarket chain.
I think that's a good idea, just to make sure that, you don't get people sick. And then, I think it's a better way to do it.
I don't mind. I don't mind. It's for everybody. Yeah, I feel good.
It's a good idea, especially because it prevents other people from catching it if you don't know that you have COVID-19.
And so Longo's becomes the first major Canadian grocery chain to mandate mask usage by customers. Employees were already required to wear masks or face shields. The store is providing disposable masks for customers who don't bring one. Things also may soon change at hospitals. Today, Ontario's health minister says arrangements are being considered to allow elective procedures to go ahead once again at some health centres.
As we develop our plan to open up elective procedures for cardiac cancer surgeries and other orthopedic surgeries, that is one of the suggestions that we have a COVID-free hospital so that there's one that will deal with the COVID patients, one that will deal more with the elective surgeries.
Elliott says the plan will depend on staffing at hospitals and the supply of personal protective equipment. Now to a grim coronavirus update. A third personal support worker has died of COVID-19 in Ontario. 59-year-old Sharon Roberts worked at the Downsview Long-Term Care Facility in Toronto. Amidst the grief of her passing, a debate over how to protect people on the front lines is also taking hold. Lisa Shing has that story.
For some healthcare workers, wearing a surgical mask to see COVID-19 patients is enough. They trust the public health advice and the research.
I have to always, practice what I preach, and I'm recommending this. I've seen many, many COVID patients right here in hospital, and I am going there with my surgical mask, gown, and my face shield, and nothing more.
For others, the provincial directive that workers wear surgical masks doesn't go far enough. On Friday, CBC News spoke with a personal support worker who didn't want to be identified about testing positive for COVID-19. That's after working with a resident who contracted the virus.
We're not safe in the surgical mask. If the surgical mask, anything splash on it, it comes right in. It penetrates the surgical mask. It's just like a piece of paper you put over your face.
You don't only have a finite supply of masks, you have a finite supply of healthcare workers.
Several healthcare unions want members to have the choice of wearing N95 masks instead of surgical ones.
If there was a question about whether something could be, for example, airborne, then we needed to err on the side of caution.
N95 masks are primarily used during procedures that could generate aerosol particles like during intubation. Most of these procedures are done in hospitals.
Surgical masks are what is required for COVID-19 according to the Chief Medical Officer of Health. Of course, evidence is always evolving.
Ontario's top doctors said today the evidence doesn't support N95 masks in regular healthcare settings, even though other countries like the US and Australia recommend it. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Long-term care homes have been particularly hard hit by the virus, but we're also hearing stories of survival. At 100 years old, Viola Pollard, better known as Mickey, was one of Ontario's oldest patients battling COVID-19. Well, the battle is done, and she has tested negative for the virus. Angelina King now with the inspiring story.
Wonderful, just wonderful.
Just days after recovering from COVID-19, Mickey Pollard is feeling well enough to get dolled up and do an interview from inside her long-term care home, even coming down to the lobby to give us a wave through the window. At 100 years old and virus-free, Pollard is sharp, funny, and full of life.
I hear you're kind of the life of the party.
The life of the party.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but we haven't got a party.
Her last party was 6 months ago to celebrate her 100th birthday. She agrees this calls for another celebration.
And I found out, and I was so happy.
Now that she's feeling better, she's back to her old self.
She's always looking to socialize, always cracks a joke. She loves to be around people and is always willing to help.
Pollard loves bingo and has organized fundraisers for the nursing home. Staff say in the early days of the pandemic, she was quick to remind fellow residents of the health and safety protocols, meanwhile always ensuring she looks her best. But right now, she's a bit concerned that the home's hair salon isn't operating.
Oh, yeah. I'm always worried about my hair all the time, but sometimes I don't have it just right.
Every day she goes in and she looks for her lipstick, and whatever she's wearing, gray, blue, black, she has beads, her matching beads that goes with her outfit. According to her, you never know who you're going to run into.
With that spirit, her family was not only devastated, but surprised when she got COVID-19.
Because she's so tough. I thought, knowing her, she will get past this and not be a victim of COVID-19. She's a survivor.
But after the diagnosis, Stewart expected the worst. She credits the nursing home staff for her mother's recovery, and Pollard just as grateful.
I've met some wonderful people here, and I said they just treat me nice.
What's the biggest lesson that you've learned from your mom?
Resilience. Yeah, definitely. My mom has gone through so much in her 100 years, and she has lost 3 of my siblings have passed, and my father. When we fall apart, she's the rock.
Once again, Mickey Pollard proving her strength and her zest for life. Angelina King, CBC News, Mississauga.
What an incredible story. And now to some good news for gardeners. The city is opening its community and allotment gardens.
Park staff have been working with Toronto Public Health to map out a way to reopen the city's 81 community gardens and 12 allotment gardens safely. These gardens are very important to the residents who use them, and I'm glad that we've been able to find a way to get them up and running now, just in time for the planting season.
The mayor's announcement comes after the province decided to lift restrictions and allow them. The city will follow a phased approach in opening the gardens to ensure public safety. Community gardens will begin to open this week on a location-by-location basis, and allotment gardens will start to open next week.
I alternate between being devastated and being motivated to affect change.
This mom's 14-year-old son living with disabilities is in a group home. She hasn't seen him or been able to visit for weeks due to the coronavirus. After the break, how she's calling on the province to declare parents essential visitors. Plus,
beautiful day today with that sunshine, but boy, it took some getting used to with the cooler temperatures that moved in after the weekend. Well, as we go into this week, we have a pattern of cooler temperatures. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. I'll show you what it looks like and how long we might stay into this new pattern. That's coming up after the break.
Welcome back. Police have charged 2 men and a woman in connection with the shooting death of a teen last month. 15-year-old Jeremiah Ranger was fatally shot in the Jane and Shepherd area on April 26th. Security footage captured the shooting, which happened shortly after Ranger got into a white SUV with a friend. 20-year-old Hannah Gaudette turned herself into police today. She and 23-year-old Seymour Young were charged with second-degree murder. On Friday, police charged 22-year-old Tyler Young of Cambridge with second-degree murder. And a man is facing multiple charges in connection with this incident in Cabbagetown this afternoon. You can see a man throwing rocks at a police officer's car. The video shows the man throwing rocks at the officer as well. It was captured by a resident in the area. Police were initially called to the scene near Dundas and Sherbourne for reports of a man stealing packages off porches and throwing rocks. Luckily, backup arrived quickly and the suspect was tackled to the ground. A 42-year-old man is facing a slew of charges, including assaulting a peace officer with a weapon. Well, at least someone gets to enjoy the cherry blossoms. This is a look at the sakura trees at High Park in their peak bloom stage. The city let the media into the park this afternoon to shoot the blossoms, and it's a time of year when the park, you would know it, is normally budding with crowds. But in order to maintain physical distancing, the city decided to close the park entirely, something this little guy is probably quite happy about. And I'm sure many of us were happy about the weather yesterday, but today, what a different story. Colette Kennedy joins us now for a look at the forecast. And Colette, the sun was out, but the cool breeze, what a departure from yesterday's warmth.
Yes, big changes for us, right? I mean, a 10-degree temperature difference, essentially anyway, from highs yesterday to the highs today. We got to our 20 degrees. We stayed there for 3 hours on Sunday. And then today, daytime high, just 11 degrees, 12 for Oshawa. It was nice, at least, though, for the second half of the day to have that sun come out. But I have to tell you, this cooler air that's moved in, just have a look at the next 7 days. So tomorrow's high similar to today. Wednesday, same thing. Our bump, our big warm-up day, is still well below seasonal. This is our line for an average high, and we are below it through the next 7 days. Not only that, look at some of these cool readings. These are daytime highs by forecast as we go towards the end of this week. Now, let me fill you in on what else is happening with the weather pattern besides it being cool. A system that's going to be moving, kind of staying to the south of us, is going to throw some shade on us, so to speak. Cloud cover certainly moving in overnight tonight and for tomorrow for southwestern Ontario. We'll start off with sunshine through the GTA and all around the Golden Horseshoe, and then later in the day, those clouds will be increasing. You'll stay in the sun much longer, Markham, Newmarket, and over towards Pickering, Whitby, and through those regions. So it's going to be a pretty pleasant day in that sense. Now, the winds are still going to be from the northwest like they were today, but not as gusty. Today, we're having some of those gusts around 50 kilometers an hour, and tomorrow it's going to be more of a 15 to 20, 25 kilometer an hour wind that we'll be seeing. As we go through Wednesday, still quite a bit of cloud cover from that system, but we'll also see a little precipitation coming towards the end of the week, and let me show you the 5-day where that could end up for us. But for now, overnight into southwestern Ontario, Leamington 2 degrees, Windsor a low of 2 degrees as well. Tomorrow with some of that cloud cover, hard to do very well, just barely making it here into the double digits. So I have 10 degrees all around, all the way to London in terms of what you'll be seeing for your afternoon high. Without the benefit of any cloud cover, it's nice that we got the sun today once things cleared, but it means with clear skies overnight tonight, down to -1 for Markham, and we'll be at freezing. And it takes a while to warm up. So even though the sun will be up even by about 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's still only going to be about 2 degrees. So a very chilly start to the day. Tomorrow afternoon, late in the day at least, clouds will be increasing. And these are a look at the numbers. I do think you'll be a little warmer perhaps into Markham over towards Oshawa, just because you'll have that sunshine longer for a longer period through your day. All right. This is the other thing I want to show you. So that cloud cover, that's the system to the south of us that stays there but brings in the cloud cover. Thursday, though, a chance for some showers moving in. A southwesterly breeze, though, is probably going to be a little bit windy at times. Takes us to 13. We might make 14 degrees or so. But Friday, with some precipitation sticking in here and that overnight low dropping to -2, there is a chance, Chris, I hate to say it, and it's several days out yet, but there is that possibility we could have some flurries overnight into Saturday morning. This is the pattern we're in, at least for this week.
Bearer of bad news tonight. Thanks, Colette.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. Take advantage of special offers now. It's hard to stop a train.
A mother says she's worried about the long-term effects visitor restrictions will have on her 14-year-old son. Joey is nonverbal and lives at a group home. The home is following provincial guidelines, but the Barrie mom says those guidelines need to be updated. Talia Ricci has the story.
We wonder, what is he thinking? Like, where did we go? Why hasn't he seen his parents in 7 weeks? That's never happened in his 14 years of life.
Those are a few of Pamela Librelesso's greatest fears right now. Her son Joey has multiple disabilities and lives in a group home. That home isn't allowing visitors to protect residents and staff from COVID-19.
I alternate between being devastated and being motivated to affect change.
She wants to see changes to the government's guidelines to consider parents and caregivers essential visitors.
It's one thing for us to be upset about not seeing him. I think what's more upsetting is wondering what he thinks and what he understands is going on or doesn't understand.
In a statement, the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services says it recognizes this is a difficult time for families, but restricting non-essential visitors ensures the safety of residents and staff. But one advocacy group says there needs to be a balance between keeping people safe and accommodating their needs.
People that have intellectual delay and are also non-verbal are already vulnerable. It's known that they're more at risk.
Caldwell warns that for people with intellectual disabilities, a long absence from loved ones could increase their anxiety, stress, and impact their behaviors over time.
They are not visitors, they are vital parts of these children's and young adults' lives.
Librelesso says missing Joey's birthday on April 1st was a painful milestone for the family.
We chose to observe it in a very low-key way, knowing that at some point in the future, we will have that birthday party.
She hopes the government reconsiders. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
After the break, they've served their community for almost 40 years, and the pandemic didn't stop them. Now their community is saying thanks. Today's Frontline Hero is coming up. Residents near the junction celebrated the owners of their local variety store this weekend, covering the store in thank you posters. Tina and Costa Bottis have run St. John's Grocery and Variety for 38 years. Despite both being over 70 years old, they've kept the store open throughout the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think a corner store is, I often think of it as the heart of the neighborhood, really. I knew that they'd be overwhelmed if we did any sort of grand thank you of any scale. You truly feel the heart and soul that's in this store, and I think that that is one of the biggest draws that brings people into their store day after day. Tina and Costa will literally have whatever it is that you need, and if they don't have it, they go out and get it for you. Tina mentioned that she got that plexiglass protection because one of the community members wanted to protect them. She doesn't even know who it was, but that's the kind of love this community has for them because they would sort of never do that themselves, right?
They were adamant to remain open, and that dedication is part of who they are. They were originally farmers in Greece. They grew up quite poor. So it was their dream to come here and have a better life and provide a better life for myself and my brother. So it's just a day like today it makes me extremely emotional because I see all of their hard work come to light, and their kindness and their dedication to this community.
We service the community here in the variety store, the convenience store here for 38 years. And nice to meet lot of people and like a family to us. We try to support the community, for the difficult times. We go through all together, this time, and we leave open they can buy milk, bread and anything. Not really cry, no, but they make it for emotional because, you see all the love and support they give to us, so because I love them, we love them too, that's why,
It just warms your heart. And if you'd like to share a story about your frontline hero, we are still accepting submissions. You can tag us on social or send us an email. And that is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We leave you with more pictures of the cherry blossom trees at High Park today from a bird's eye view. Have a great night.